Hey everybody, Stuart here with some more Banished. Now, it looks like we're struggling a little bit with our tools situation. Let me assess for a minute. So, we have the one blacksmith. Do we have a second? We did put in the second one. I'm wondering if we need a third. I think the issue is less need for blacksmiths, because we even... Oh no, that's a house. Of course, it's paused and it's raining. I can't explain it. It just seems to happen. I think it's just we're waiting on this iron. So I'm going to go ahead and just let it run for a bit. See how it goes. Now, it looks like our stone is starting to climb a bit and our iron. Just as the quarry gets moving. So that's good stuff. I think that'll help us in the long term to kind of get our demand for these goods under control. But just to help it out a little bit, let's go ahead and get go ahead and collect some iron from there. And I think you can see that we're approaching the point that there's just less and less on the map that we can go after. So something to keep in mind. We might be getting near the point that we have to rely almost entirely off of this mine and this quarry, which should be okay, I've got those queued up for collection, I believe. No. Let's do that. We'll collect those as well. Just get all the stone and all that little bit of iron. Because we put the bridge in, we might as well take advantage of it. I will put in just another stockpile or two in the immediate area. Yeah, that'll give them something they can dump. We'll do a third one on. That'll give them something they can just dump everything on. So, firewood is kind of falling behind as well. That's curious. Yeah, I think we need another woodcutter. And actually, our supply of logs is iffy as well. So we might want to get yet another one of these put in, which it looks like we're working on. Thinking about where would you put a woodcutter? Maybe out here? Let's do that. Oral died. What an unfortunate. He had a very sad life, actually. You know, kids bullied at him at school. He he got teased mercilessly. I'm being kind of mean. Let's see. I'm gonna put a little stockpile. Well, let's put a house in and a stockpile, and maybe even a little road. 4x4 stockpile and a house for him. Perfect. I liked how that lined up. Actually, we'll do like a corner road going around it. A lot of notifications. Let's see. What are they demanding? Tools and firewood. I don't think those problems are mutually exclusive, but it does look like the tools are slowly coming back. Like, because we were at, what, 20-something? Now we're down to 2 or 12. We might need another blacksmith, though, just thinking about it. Well, that one should get built, and it's just kind of a matter of waiting for the laborers to do their business. So, and we are getting some old age deaths as well. That's it's this time, you know, that time of the build where you do start to see some of that. So, what we really need are some of these, like, out of these 22 kids, some of them need to become laborers to kind of cover all that. So, otherwise, I don't really want to pull from. I mean, our food supply is a little iffy too. So, I definitely like to add in more, like, some more hunters. Especially hunters. We're kind of low on them. Let's do that. That'll help. Even though we do need the labor pool. At the same time, if we don't get on the hunters, you know, it's going to be an issue with getting enough food. So, I've also queued up a whole bunch of different little jobs for them to do. So that might be the problem as well. You know, they still have this to collect and all that. So I think at this point we just have to let it run for a bit. I think we need another blacksmith. Well, I got one queued up and ready to be built. So once we get that going, I think the tools will start to go down because it looks like our iron supply at least is going back up. So then and we're gonna need more logs. We definitely need more logs. So it's kind of a balancing act sometimes. Gonna cut that down a bit. And another childbirth, yeesh. Those aren't all that ideal. I mean, ideal. Yeah, it'd be ideal if we had more childbirths going on, or childbirth-related injuries, or deaths. No, we definitely we need to boost our population a bit. We're getting to the point where we sunk a lot of labor into the mine and the stone cutter, so that's kind of what's slowing us down on some of this external collection. But I don't really want to cut from these because it's a good steady source, and the more we have, the better. So yeah, sometimes it's just kind of stepping back and letting it ride. So I would like to get the town hall built, not because I want nomads, but because it would be it'd be a nice thing to have in general, so that we could kind of assess like how we're doing, say, on space for families. And it looks like honestly we need more houses. We have some queued up to get built, but let's allow like one or two more actually. I'd also like to get going on the wells, but we're still a little bit behind on the stone, especially with all this building going on, so we're just gonna have to step back on that. Yeah, making progress, making progress. I'm just gonna go in and do a little bit of housekeeping. I want to see what kind of paths people are taking. See, they're pulling from those homes, so we definitely do need some more near the mines. Let's try. Let's get these going. I just want to double check all my paving and make sure that I don't have any silly situation where, like this, for instance. That doesn't make much sense to have to force them to walk that far. I always forget. So let's see. This uses 4. This eventually uses 4, and this uses 4. So 12, which means we need 6 houses in proximity, and well, we have the 6. Maybe add in another one. And good, it looks like our tool situation is getting a little bit better. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll make 6, but we'll add in a bonus. And hopefully, as we build up these houses, they're going to kind of settle, and they won't be doing that really long kind of march to work. So it's just kind of a matter of getting ahead on some of this stuff. Our food is decent. Looks like our stone supplies are improving though, so that's nice to see. It's strange to me how they're not really making use of this stockpile here. I'm wondering if it's worth kind of breaking that down and, say, putting it over here. Because the fact of the matter is they're not really walking all the way over there to drop it off. I'm not sure. Not sure about it. The more I look at it, the more I definitely want to move this. It's taking up a lot of space. It could potentially, say, be homes. And it seems like they're not really using it like I had hoped. So let's try putting. I'm gonna remove it. I'm gonna do that right now before they keep piling stuff up. And let's get a stockpile like kind of along here. I think that'll be a little bit better. Let's see. Is that gonna be like a? We don't want 6 by 6. I want it to fit in like a 10 by 10. There we go. Let's try that. And yeah, it means the laborers are going to have to clear that away, but hey, more trees, more trees. I think also, and I know in the mods you can actually like scoop up this stuff. Like basically order laborers to gather wild edibles. But I think when you order them to build something and there's a bunch of wild edibles on the ground, they do collect those up as well. So that's kind of a little strategy if you're feeling like you could use a little food boost, you might want to queue up a big stockpile in an area that you see a bunch of those around, just so the laborers will go in and gather them up and get a little bit of bonus food. So that's always good. Let's see, let's see. Yeah, it's almost just a matter of waiting it out. I should come up with something interesting to talk about while we wait. I'm a pretty big fan of Barry Allen as the Flash, and I haven't really been following, the CW series. I have been following though. Essentially, they DC Comics, they've decided to do a reboot of the Flash, and it's really, really it's excellent, and for several reasons. One, I think that, and I'll have to look him up, but the guy who does the lettering and kind of some of the details on it, he's just like really, really good at using speed lines and just perspective to tell the story. And that's what I really like about comics as a media in general. I really like it when you get just an artist or even a letterer who's very good at setting the mood and the tone instantly with a high quality, just really good use of space. And whoever is working on the new DC version of the Flash he's doing a really awesome job, and I just want to I thought I'd talk about that a little bit. Also, I really like the direction they've taken, because Flash has always kind of been about he's almost like that nostalgic hero. He takes you back to sort of the time when everyone had these goofy villains, like the Joker. He used to be just like a silly clown themed villain. He was menacing Batman alongside like a guy whose whole shtick was, oh, I do baseball related crimes and I dress up like I'm a baseball player. That, like, all the original Batman villains were like kind of silly, almost. Oh, I need to hire another woodcutter. Maybe that's why. I was looking around like, I have all these woodcutters. Why is it an issue? But and more fishing. Let's definitely get ahead on that. Now that they're doing a pretty good job of kind of finished clearing all of this out, so I think we can get by with less laborers and some more food, because it's been steadily dropping. So I'm a bit concerned, especially since we put in a lot more houses. So the more the merrier, I say. Gathering. Yeah, we might need another gather, actually, looking at this, but yeah, so like Flash has always kind of like stayed true to that original almost 1930s to 40s time period where, yeah, his villains have been a little bit gimmicky and silly. I mean, his main enemy is like Reverse Flash. It's Flash with a different color scheme, or Gorilla Grodd, and a menacing ape that is literally an intelligent gorilla. Or Captain Cold, even. He's a guy who dresses up like an Inuit, like a white dude who dresses like an Inuit, and they've always been kind of like, or even Captain Boomerang. Like, I mean, come on, like a villain whose whole shtick is he's Australian and throws boomerangs at people for crime. It's like, why? That's so silly, but. Mirror Master, Weather Wizard. I can't name like one like villain from the Flash that was actually not based on some really silly gimmick. But the thing is, like, for years, the comic has kind of suffered because of that. Essentially, there are folks who they're nostalgic for that, and they kind of force the authors of Flash into that role of no, Flash is gonna be the silly gimmicky character. No, he's a speedy hero, but he's no Superman or Batman. He's not gonna be our main lineup. And I think with this new release, they decided we're gonna keep the same kind of heroes, but we're going to actually make them menacing and frightening and just like imposing and also at the same time human characters. Like, I really like the whole notion that Captain Cold is he's almost a reluctant villain now. He does crime because it's all he knows, and he doesn't know how to get escape from that kind of lifestyle. But at the same time, he wants to look after his people more than just commit crimes. He sees it as kind of he's got a family he has to take care of, and he doesn't know any other life. And I think that's made him a lot more interesting as a villain and a lot more interesting as a character. They've also kind of made this whole idea that not only is he conflict about that, but he really cares for Central City, and he really wants to see his hometown thrive, even though it's fallen by the wayside. And it makes him a lot more interesting and intriguing as a character. And because he's a person now, he's not like some silly cliche like, oh, he dresses up like an Eskimo or an Inuit and just goes around zapping people with a freezing cold gun. That's like, and I really wish that like I feel like some computer game companies really are suffering from that right now. Like, don't get me wrong, like I'm a real fan of Blizzard Entertainment, but have you seen like the horrible like they're almost like minstrel show like level of just like all the recent all of the Overwatch characters, and it's like you look at this and it's like, yeesh. Like, I understand that the people working in Blizzard, they're basically children of the '80s, I guess, and they think that's okay. But when you make a character like in Overwatch, there's a character, she has a cold gun, and yeah, she dresses up like an Inuit, and it's almost like a insulting cliche in a way, and it's like I have expected her to, like insist on having like broken English speech. It's just, and I'm not saying like you can't do a character like that and do it well. It's just when you make the whole like when you make their whole like reason for existence as just sort of a silly gag theme, it's a problem. And I like to see some of the video game industry kind of move away from that trap. And I don't know, I think some companies do a really like good job of it. Like I actually like case in point, the Turok games were, yeah, the guy's it's based off of the comic, but I thought they did like a really good job of actually building the guy up as a character and not just this total like cliche parody of a Native American. And I think maybe some people might disagree with that. I don't know. I felt though like they did a pretty good job of him. I wish they would make more Turok games. Oh my goodness, I really, really enjoyed the Turok games. It was my first like rated M for mature game as a child, and I actually so my mom, she saw it was a dinosaur game and just picked it up for me, not realizing that it's actually super violent and like. Because it was a first-person shooter, and like it made no apologies for that. So, there was a lot of blood, and I mean, for the Nintendo 64, it was pretty graphic. So I don't know, I really picked up on that. Like we my brother and myself, we would both just like would always constantly be going on about how, no, it's my turn to play. No, it's my turn. And I think our mom was kind of horrified when she realized, oh wait a minute, this is there's all this blood splatter and kind of like, I mean, you eviscerate dinosaurs, because she thought it was like a cute dinosaur game, and it I mean, in a way, yeah, it was a dinosaur game, but a more of a violent one than anything else. I'm gonna unpause this house too. I'm a little worried about our food. In fact, I'm a lot worried. Let's pause it. We're using it up more than we're making it. Is there any way I can boost? Let's see. Let's check the Hunter Lodge. Yeah, see, this is 3 of 3. Let's pump those up. 4-4. What about you? 4-4. So we can get one more hunter. I think we're going to need some other place to have a hunting and gathering area. And this seems like a pretty solid spot, actually. Especially since we've already kind of cleared out a lot of the stone. So let's get that going sooner rather than later, because I'm getting concerned. We're down to 1,000 stored food, and I think part of it is I put in a lot of homes, trying to streamline this stuff. Actually, I'm gonna pause this again. We don't need any more children being born. But in doing that and not adding extra expansions, I think we put ourselves in kind of a bad position on food production. Let's also check these. How's our production here? 1,000. That's good. This one might be a little less because yeah. See, all that little bit of paving when they decide to go home for the day is cutting into it. But 700 is decent. What about this one? 1,000. Nice. You want them to be about 1,000. Good. So our fishing's fairly solid. I think we could fit in another fishing. Like, actually, we could put in maybe even 2. Like, 1 here and 1 here. So let's go ahead and plan for that. I'm going to cancel the collection of this iron, because I want to be able to build, and they'll clear it out as they build and as we get some hunting lodges in, and that way our labor pool, they'll be less worried about that, more worried about actually moving goods to houses. We should also consider getting, let's see how many vendors we have, and honestly we could probably use with, I'm gonna pump that up a little bit, just a bit, because I think with more vendors, the goods will get spread out a bit more. Because I expect, yeah, see, there's a decent amount of food out here. And a decent amount here. We definitely need more, though. Another thing to consider is if we can get this turned into a stone road, that should help. Let's actually do that. Gonna put our first one. Just to speed up kind of the transportation of goods between here and the main town. So, but let's see, we'll put in some fisheries, and I think there should be enough room for forester and hunting and gathering out here as well. So let's get going on that. But yeah, and Blizzard has kind of always been, that's actually been an issue for them since the beginning, honestly, and they don't really apologize for that, and some people think it's refreshing, and honestly, you know, I think it's okay to do something of that nature, but you can just make sure, like, if you're going to have someone, say, be dressed up as like an Inuit or as some kind of like a native peoples, make them a person, not just a cliche. That's all I'm saying. There we go. And unfortunately, like, you know, like for instance, like with the trolls and the orcs and stuff in World of Warcraft, they're a little bit guilty of kind of like just making them parodies of characters. And it's funny too, because they were one of the first companies to see the potential of the orc backstory as, like, you know, orcs aren't just monsters, you know, they have a story behind them in history. So yeah, good for them for doing that. But then they do stuff like, you know, they make the silly emote in World of Warcraft, like, hey dog, you know, and it's like, it's just I don't know. I'm not entirely. I'm thinking like maybe they could tone that down a bit, but what do I know? I'm probably like way off base here. Let's actually put in the fishing huts first, and then figure out how the roads would fit around that. Let's see. If we put it up, I feel like we actually get a little bit more in the crosshairs. Or maybe if we rotate. Let's try. That looks pretty good. Yeah, let's go with that. And I'm gonna pin him, and then put in another one, or not. They'll overlap pretty badly. I could almost put another one in, like, I wonder. See, there's not gonna be enough room for any kind of storage there. Oh, we have one up here. Okay, so I don't think we really have much room there for it. But that little river bend will be good. So we'll put that in. We'll put in some houses, some hoozles, and another one. And oh, so that one went down a little bit. Let's clear that out. Like, I mean, and you know, the video game industry is really kind of guilty of that sort of thing. I mean, look at like a game like Lollipop Chainsaw. There's just, you know, I understand that, you know, they're using the excuse of, oh, it's parody of sexism in video games, but was it really? Is it parody if you're intentionally make a game to be sexist? Like, I don't think that's parody. I think that's they're just calling it that to kind of cover their own butts, like, you know. And you see a lot of those, especially like out of the stuff that Japan produces, and I don't know, it's part of their culture in a way. Like, you know, they're still kind of struggling with women's rights, and don't get me wrong, so is the U.S. I'm not trying to just, you know, pick on Asia here, but at the same time, it's like I kind of wish the video game industry would be a little bit better at, like, if you're gonna do something like Lollipop Chainsaw, like, do it more like Bayonetta. And don't get me wrong, Bayonetta is again kind of like, oh, you know, look at the female character's body, isn't she hot, by the game. You know, it's still very much that, but at least in Bayonetta, you know, she's got a bit of a backstory. She's a witch. She's sold her soul to the devil, and she's not afraid of her body. You know, I think they handled the story a little bit better for her than they do in like Lollipop Chainsaw. But anyway, a whole discussion. Let's see here. I'm just trying to build out this gathering area, because we need more food, and we need it sooner rather than later. So let's put maybe over here and then have some storage. I think that's good.